Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Diet Keto. I'm Mishal, a sports nutritionist, and this is another video in the series of Low Carb Heroes of India. I am more than happy to welcome Shashi today. Shashi is a very good friend. He is extremely famous on the Twitter low carb community, nationally and internationally. He has done a lot of nutrition based courses, low carb nutrition based courses, nationally, internationally. And I would like him to talk about himself, so I don't want to talk much about him. But then the very famous thing about Shashi is that he is he has extensively deep dived into the data and science around low carb and keto. So Shashi, first thing, welcome to my podcast and thank you for taking out the time.
Yeah, thank you, Mishal. Thank you for inviting me. Today we'll just discuss on again a sort of, let us say, basics.
Yeah.
And the why actually I came to this particular following this particular diet and what is the history.
Right.
And I'll talk mostly basics. We'll not go into any big scientific thing.
Right.
We'll have basics so that people can understand. And my interest is, I'm a big actually low carb keto proponent. So more than anything else, I want people to benefit out of this lifestyle because there's a lot of reversal of a lot of diseases with low carb ketogenic diet.
Yeah. Right. So we'll get there, Shashi. Absolutely, this video is for a common person who really wants to understand how he can benefit health-wise, from a low carb keto diet. But before we go there, tell us what got you diving so deep into the science and the practice and implementation of a low carb keto diet.
So, Mishal, it so happens that, somewhere in September 2015 and I was diagnosed as a diabetic with an HbA1C of 7.2, fasting of 152 and postprandial of 253 or something. So, this was a time, it's a sudden realization that I'm a diabetic. So, there was no denial from my side, unlike it happens with many people, because diabetes is something which I'm familiar right from the childhood. So my father also has diabetes for quite long, and we have a lot of relatives. So I've been seeing all this disease for quite a long time. So what I did was went to my doctor, my family doctor, general practitioner. So he advised some test. I came back and I was put on one tablet of metformin. And what to do then? Okay, then I went to an endocrinologist. So he assessed everything. He put me on a low-fat diet, and he increased the dose of metformin to 2 tablets a day. And this is the time when I started reading about diabetes. So I was searching the net for the proverbial cure for diabetes. I thought someone must be having cure somewhere. So every day I used to spend, a lot of time. I get a lot of traveling time and all. So I used to devote all this time in search for a cure. And during this time, I came across various different ways to control diabetes. I used to read that there are Ayurvedic herbal things which can do. Maybe there is homeopathic, maybe there is something. And then what really fascinated me was when I read about this low carbohydrate diet. It is called as either LCHF, low carbohydrate, high fat, or a ketogenic diet. So I was very curious and I just started going inside. And then I used to see a lot of blogs, videos of top brains on this subject. I became totally fascinated and I was really convinced that this is the way to go. The cause of diabetes is because of probably the wrong dietary habits. And the way we can control or get it under remission is again, something which lies in the kitchen and not in the pharmacy shelf. So this is something which fascinated me. I got convinced and I slowly started shifting. So let me tell you, within 3 months, by December end or Jan, I shifted to low carb diet, and slowly I kept on refining. I kept reading, and I started searching a lot. I started reading a lot of scientific material, and there are tons of materials out there. This is an information age. Nothing is hidden from anyone. You can go and search anything. So that is how it is very, very fascinating to see the history. The history of low carb is very, very interesting. So that is something, a whole session can be devoted to talking just on the history of low carb.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, we know that, like you said, diabetes and a cure for diabetes is what got you into low carb. And, as a nature, I think you have like gone very deep into it, looking back at the science of it. So how do your numbers look like right now? And what's your diet right now when you say low carb? Because I know you are also a vegetarian. So all our vegetarian friends out there, we are dominantly a vegetarian country. So tell us, what does your diet look like? How have your numbers improved?
So, so Mishal, before we just go into this, maybe I think let me talk about the history of diabetes also, the history of low carb in diabetes. So, the earliest recorded case was somewhere in 1700 end, somewhere in 1787 or 1790. There was a surgeon called John Rollo. That is the earliest documented evidence of using low carb diet in diabetic patient. Later on, over the next 200 years, there are a lot of documentary evidences that low carb diet has been used very successfully for weight loss and for control of diabetes. And you will be surprised to know that Elliot Jocelyn, the Jocelyn's book of diabetes is considered as a Bible by all the diabetologists, endocrinologists today. But if you see his dietary recommendation before the discovery of insulin and sulfonylureas, it was a typical low carbohydrate diet, low carbohydrate, high fat, and moderate protein diet. So once insulin was discovered, somehow everything got lost, and then we started eating whatever we want. A lot of medicines came in, a class of drug like sulfonylureas, and then we felt that we can eat anything and get away with it, and that is how everything started. So I got very convinced by these historical evidences, and I'm really happy to share that I'm able to control my diabetes without any medicine.
With
so
food,
currently,
basically.
With food only, yeah. So metformin and all, I gradually tapered off within the first year, from 2 tablets to 1 tablet, and finally 0. So within one and a half year, it was just 0. So last almost 3 years, I'm on no pills, no anti-diabetic, no herbal stuff, no Ayurvedic stuff, no homeopathic stuff, no. Maybe just a few supplements, yes, which is required, like fish oil or magnesium. Otherwise, no, nothing. So my HbA1c currently ranges around, my last HbA1c was 4.7 sometime back. Otherwise, it is usually between 4.7 to 4.9. So I like to keep it below 5. So 4.7 is the best figure which I got. Maybe, one day I will refine much more and get it even lower. So it is from 7.2 to 4.7 is possible. And this was possible only because, I adopted this quite early, before going into this vicious cycle of multiple meals a day and multiple drugs. Because what happens is, a diabetic usually starts with one drug and then multiple tablets, add one more, increase the dose, add one more. So that is how they keep transitioning.
They say it's a progressive disease.
Yeah, chronic progressive disease. That is how it is, it is written everywhere.
It is not true.
But it is not. So it need not be chronic progressive. I'm not saying that I'm cured, but let me tell you that
right.
Diabetes is under remission. It is under control. As long as I stick to what I eat, I'm under control, and I'm at an amazing energy level. So something which, there are a lot of other advantages which actually came, which I never expected. And I went to this diet only for blood sugar. However, a lot of other benefits I got. First of all, I lost my paunch, my tummy, so that is gone. And I had to dispose of a couple of dozen pants for this and get fresh ones. And my fatty liver the fatty liver just went away, which was diagnosed 1 year prior to the diagnosis of diabetes. due to, I went to doctor for some other reason. He just told you get ultrasonography done. Grade 1 fatty liver was there. So he very diligently put me on low fat diet and vitamin E and LOW-52. So that is how that I took it for a year. So within a month or so, everything got, everything was dissolved actually. All this liver fat was gone. And I also, just around the time of diagnosis of diabetes, I also got osteoarthritis of my left knee, because I used to run with diabetes in background without realizing. So maybe that has affected, and terrible knee pain. So that is resolved now. I don't take anything. No doubt I used to take some supplements in between, but it appears that weight loss and getting blood sugar back to normal resolved this osteoarthritis. And I also had tendinitis in my right knee, so that is also gone. Frozen shoulder, it is gone almost 95%, maybe 5% here and there is there. But I need to do some exercises, physiotherapy, which which are not done very properly. So, and then frozen wrist, so that also got, I got rid of it. And Baki, of course, weight loss and all, I lost 10 kgs, mostly around the central part, the tummy part. And the best part is I got the energy back. So this is, this is just amazing. So it is something like, the kind of energy we have when we were teenagers or when we were in college, we're getting back the energy, something. It is just amazing and unimaginable. And the best part is, like the other diabetics, I don't have to eat every 2 hours. Okay, I don't have to eat those Mari biscuits. So I just take 2 meals a day. I load up on sufficient what is called as fatty protein foods. So I keep it very simple, and I load up on this 2 meal. And that's all. I don't have to take any risk of having multiple meal. I have never faced a hypoglycemia. I don't know what hypoglycemia is. So others are under threat for hypoglycemia. So they will carry sugar sachets with them or sugar cubes with them. So I don't have to do anything. And this daytime sleepiness and all is now gone. Post-meal sleepiness is gone. So while in certain contexts, certain meetings and all, while I find that my colleagues are all dozing off, so I'm very active and energetic. Since I skip meal, so there is no issue with me. So I don't take lunch. I may take black coffee, black tea, lemon juice. Even if I take a bit of milk tea and all without sugar, it is okay. It is perfectly okay. It's still low carb and I'm still under ketosis. So this is, a small part of the amazing journey.
So Shashi, now that you have energy like you were in college, and you are also wearing the same size pants that you were in college.
Yeah.
I think it has like really worked well for you. So I don't want all of us, who are there saying that, oh no, this is only for young people and this is only for weight loss and this is a fat diet and all of that. So I think most of that is like just cleared by this one short introduction of yours. So I think that's like really, really great. And you mentioned that your diet consists of a lot of fatty protein. Protein as such is like such a scary subject for everyone to talk about. But without touching that, I want to talk about fat, low carb, high fat diet, or a fatty protein diet, or including saturated fats in our diet. So when we talk about fat, for a common person, I don't know, when we say fat, for them it is oil or dietary fat. So I want to begin on this topic today. For a common person, we come across somebody who is having diabetes, who is having hypertension and obesity. For them, I want you to address dietary fat and specifically related to seed oil. That's the first advice that we give to anybody, is like that, take out the seed oils. So now that you've mentioned high fat diet and a high fatty protein diet, tell us about dietary fat, why we should exclude seed oils, what is the issue, and what's the kind of fat that you are actually consuming now.
The most evil corporation in the world, they are only food industries, processed food industries, and these oil industries. And they are the first to blame. The second to blame is ourselves. Okay, so because if you really see, they're all diseases of excess. So while we know that we are not supposed to take all this, we still keep taking. So one is I blame the food industry. The other is I blame ourselves that we are very careless and now coming to saturated fat, somehow these are all very many people will not know that this dates back quite long back that a so-called a marine biologist masquerading as a scientist, Ansel Keys. So that is where he has through a manipulated study called some 7-country studies, he has shown that saturated fat actually raises cholesterol, and then cholesterol causes heart disease. So this was a very simple theory which was propagated, and then it was backed by the oil industry because they wanted to that time demonize saturated fat. They didn't want us to use butter. They didn't want us to use ghee. And some of those fat which is used abroad may not be used very commonly here is those animal fat like lard and all, lard, sweat and all, beef tallow, which we don't use here, and it is not. Our traditional saturated fat is butter and ghee, and maybe from plant it is coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
But then they wanted a market for the new products. So they found this a very right time to demonize all these traditional fats, and then they started pushing this polyunsaturated fatty acids. Paradoxically, it happens that this PUFA or omega-6 oils, they actually found to be reducing cholesterol. So automatically, it was assumed that anything which reduces cholesterol is very good for health. So that is how the madness arose, and then the madness still prevails even today. Whereas there were a lot of study like the Sydney Heart study and all, if you really see, it actually showed the other way, that all this PUFA, they make no difference, or they could actually be detrimental. Like the Minnesota study, that will actually show that this is a detrimental fat which is being used. But however, all these are hidden because there are a lot of vested interest. So that is how it is. So while saturated fat may increase cholesterol, okay, it may. Please note the word it may. But if you really see, it actually increases our good cholesterol called HDL cholesterol. It may increase total cholesterol. It may increase LDL. But what it increases the large fluffy LDL and reduces the atherogenic small dense LDL. And we never know this because we don't measure this subfractions. So that is how the madness goes. If you really see all these junk oils, I call all these refined oils as junk oil. While they reduce LDL, they will also reduce HDL paradoxically. No one talks about this. Whereas saturated fat, while it will increase HDL significantly, it will moderately increase LDL. But this increase in LDL is all those beneficial large fluffy LDL. There are all tons of data out in PubMed. We just have to go and see. However, we don't see all this data. No one sees. Very few know. However, it is very well known in the low-carb ketogenic world. Everyone knows all these studies are existing. It's just that these are all not discussed properly. That's all. So there is no need to fear saturated fat. We need to fear all these oils. In fact, I will go to the extent of saying in the low-carb world, generally it is said that excess carbohydrate, sugar actually causes diabetes. Let me go a step beyond that. I actually think that in our country, in India, the most detrimental food we can have is refined oil. Chemical extraction,
highly processed, chemically processed seed oils, from which they, there's absolutely nothing left in that after they have processed it. So then they will add some omega-3 and some A+ and E+, and they'll say it is good for heart. It is healthy vegetable oils. And like you just mentioned, one, there is absolutely nothing healthy about it. Second, it's not a vegetable oil, it's a seed oil. And it is highly processed. And like you rightly said, I think you also have spoken about this in some of your other podcasts about a friend of yours, which you said, or a case study, who just changed the oil and their lipid profile change. So can you just tell us that?
One of my friends, he is not following low-carb ketogenic diet. However, he had an elevated lipoprotein small a, LPA. LPA is an atherogenic liquid found especially in Southeast Asia and especially in India. And currently there are not many drugs which can actually treat treat LPA, and LPA is found to be atherogenic, and especially we are susceptible to it. My friend, he just stopped using refined oil and he just shifted to butter ghee. That's all. That's how we made some small changes in his home. And then LPA came down to the normal level, below 30 units, which is the normal level. Otherwise, his level was around 60 or 70, which I recall last time. So he has not made any other changes except doing this. And the other change, of course, is stopping all this pizza, burger, and everything, all those sugary. But the major impact which he feels, as it is those junk food he never used to have much, but major impact which he feels is stopping this refined oil, getting over to saturated fat, that's all. And these are all our traditional fat. Actually, we don't have much data to show, but however the ancient India, if you really see, we were using all this butter, ghee was our traditional fat, coconut oil.
Maybe some mustard,
Maybe, yeah.
tills, peanuts, again cold pressed, filtered.
Refined oil. Actually, we don't prefer all this because it has excess of omega-6. However, for those who cannot adjust to these fats, it is still okay if they use in small quantity. However, we don't recommend them. But we don't have much choices for those who cannot use. I will say that you shift to cold press oil and don't fall for this costly refined canola oils and everything. I call them cornola, K-C-O-N-O-L-A. They are out there. It's a big con job. It's a genetically modified mustard seed. So that is how it is, rechristened as canola or canola. I call them corn. I cannot call them canola. I always call them canola oil. So they are all junk refined oils, and it is backed by a lot of conflicted studies and all. So just get back to the traditional oils, and then our health will improve by 50%. Let me tell you. For viewers who are not sold to the concept of low carb ketogenic diet, you don't have to be. Just shift your oil back to what your grandmother was using, and stop going to using this junk oil in supermarket.
Right.
Our life will improve 50%. Yeah.
So that's a very nice thing that you said. People these days, like everybody knows about cholesterol. I mean, a person who has never, a person maybe who doesn't know any other English word also knows that cholesterol. Cholesterol causes heart disease. So, we need to buy those refined oils, which are like very healthy and very good. And then we eat all the junk. We fry all our junk in those oils, and we say that we are eating like our ancestors, and low carb is not like ancestors. I mean, ancestors never had, our grandparents never had these processed seed oil. There was always saturated fat, there was always butter, ghee. Okay, for the ones who cannot shift to coconut oil, for the taste of it, butter, ghee, I mean, that's like everywhere. We cannot justify our health today by using these oils and say that, oh, we are eating like our grandparents. No, we are absolutely not eating like our grandparents, like you rightly said. And also what you said, this is such an excellent point, that just by switching an oil, and what is there to lose? I would suggest all our viewers, give it a try for 2 months. For 2 months, switch back to butter and ghee and whatever other traditional oil, if you can go ahead with coconut, and maybe a little bit here and there if you want to use filter. But make that primary and see what difference it makes in 2 months. Because the kind of inflammation that people are carrying around in their body, which is caused by this high omega-6 ratio in these ultra super processed seed oils, is crazy. And I mean, I don't know whom to blame, because the media is just pushing it on us, saying that this is good for health, good for heart, good for health, good for heart. Now you can even deep fry in it, and I don't know, you can probably make everything in it, and now there is a new trend in oils. So all the super refined oils, you add like 10% of olive oil, and you say now this is better for your heart than the ones that we previously sold to you. Wherein 90% of it is seed oil and 10% is olive oil. And now you can even deep fry in that. Now this is olive oil for Indian cooking. So I think it's, like you rightly said, it's extremely crazy, and we should just give it a try, going back to this ancient way, or probably traditional way. I would not even call it ancient. Just traditional way of using fat in our diet.
So, Mishal, you touched upon a very important point just now. It is frying stuffs in this oil. of these are dead oil, refined process oil. And then if you see, our tendency to eat stuff that is, it's quite high. Go and enjoy vada pav, samosa, kachori, bhajiyas. But let me tell you, some shops will proudly, display about that they are here for 10 years, 20 years, 15 years. But let me tell you, in that vessel, the oil which is using is reused, highly oxidized oil, which become carcinogenic over a period of time. And do you think he ever empties his oil? No. He will keep on adding oil on top of it. So if his shop is there for 15 years, you can be assured some remnant of oil which was used 15 years back are still there. Okay? He is not going to discard it. Okay? He is not bothered about our health. He is bothered about his profits. And we go and we enjoy this. We only think in terms of taste, and we say, yeah, this is hygienic. Okay, this is hygienic. Yeah, taste acha hai, quality acha hai. But is it the end? No. We have to see what stuff is selling and how we are spoiling our health. And I'm sad to say that today, I'm sad to see that, the kind of suffering we have only because of all this processed oil and all. And then coming to the other point, saturated fat and heart disease, again, it is highly conflicted. If we really go and study the data, we will actually see that the root cause is something else. The root cause is insulin resistance. The root cause is high insulin, circulating insulin level. The root cause is high blood sugar level. So if we address this, and let me tell you that your heart disease, you will not have heart disease. And let me tell you that with 3 years of high fat diet, my CT calcium score, okay, coronary calcium score is a big 0. And this is one time where I'm very happy to get a big 0 on this. 0 shows that, I have another 10, 15 years warranty period. So nothing, I mean, my inflammation parameters are, my inflammation markers are very, very low. Blood sugar level is excellent at a very low level. So with HbA1c of 4.7 or 4.89 is mostly around, say, 90-92 I am posting. Maybe at night it goes to even around 80s or so. Many a times I wake up with the fasting of 85, 86, sometimes 95, sometimes it is 100, 105 also, doesn't matter. But as long as my blood sugar variability is, it's almost in a very similar or very flat level. So it doesn't spike and doesn't come down. In fact, studies have also shown that this high blood sugar, post-meal high blood sugar spikes are also associated very strongly with all the heart disease. Data is there. Data is there on all the, it's there in the PubMed, it is there in all the leading publications like Diabetes Care or any of the data from ADA or ESC or AHA, ACC. It's there everywhere. It is just for us to read and to understand.
Right. And for our viewers out there, since you spoke about insulin, it's a topic I want to cover with you in very much in detail. So I'm not getting into the details here, but can we go ahead and say that dietary fat is not equal to body fat, and it is your unused carbohydrates that create your fat adipocyte tissues in your body? So you're like becoming obese not because you're drinking oils, but it's that unused carbohydrates, so it's not the dietary fat. Can we just emphasize that more?
See, there is a lot of there's a lot of ambiguity on this, but then someone has to understand that someone on a high carb and low fat diet, that person is highly obese. We will see a big belly protruding out, and he has a fatty liver, of course, without realizing. And we don't realize all this. That how come he's so fat after being on a low fat diet? But then if you really see, there is something called as de novo lipogenesis. All this excess dietary carbohydrate, it's actually converted into fat in liver, and it is stored in form of fat, in form of triglyceride, in form of fat in our body. Now, body can store very less calories of sugar in us. Maximum maybe around 400 grams of glycogen, maybe 100, 115 liver, and maybe another 250, 300 in muscles. And that too depends upon our body mass. And we Indians, we have, we have very low body mass altogether. So God only knows how much, again, glycogen storage we have. Muscle mass itself is very less. and then everything else, is actually fat. Fat, actually, if you really see fat storage capacities, they say it is, it is unlimited or little more, depending upon individuals. Now, unfortunately, here again, Indians are unfortunate because our personal fat threshold is very, very low. So on one hand, we have a low body mass, we have low muscle mass, so our glycogen storage capacity may also be less. And then on the other hand, because of the personal fat threshold, the amount of fat we store is also not as much as the Caucasians. We don't get highly obese as those Westerners. So, these are all, Michelle, let me tell you, the personal fat threshold itself is a very big topic.
Right.
LDL cholesterol itself is a big topic. Fat itself is a big topic. Insulin resistance itself is a very big topic. So, it's all very fascinating subject once you go into it. Let me tell you that one lifetime is very less to actually know the truth behind everything. And maybe once we will have, a different session on insulin resistance to show that, the root cause of all modern chronic disease is insulin resistance. So once we understand this, and once we understand that what causes insulin resistance is the excess carbohydrate, excess sugar, and all this refined oil, they are the ones who cause all this insulin resistance. Maybe there are other factors also, I'm not denying. Okay, so as I was telling, the Pareto factor, if you see, are these few factors, and if we really control them, we can reverse and we can control all the diseases, and it's really amazing. Let me tell you. Yeah, it may be sounds little difficult, but let me tell you, for vegetarians also, it is possible if we do. And I take a lot of these fatty protein foods. That's how I like to call them. A lot of paneer, a lot of hung curd, dahi, where we take off the whey liquid because it contains lactose, and then I also have eggs. So eggs provides first class high quality protein. I may take some collagen in my coffee. So there are various ways to do. Yeah, for pure vegetarian, it's a challenge. They have to sustain on let us say paneer, cheese, and maybe they can supplement little whey protein to eat the protein macros. And then nuts, a lot of nuts. And then fats, yes, we have a lot of fats. The paneer itself provides a lot of fat,
right.
And hung curd provides a lot of fat. We have butter and ghee. In fact, cream. I will say that ghee is the contribution of India to the world of low carbohydrate ketogenic world, and that's an excellent fat. We have coconut oil, yes, we have all the nuts. They're all very high fat and very low carb. So all the nuts you can have. By nuts, I mean more of almonds and then walnuts, and then a lot of other premium ones available. So we may not go overboard on this.
Right.
Maybe just one or two cashews. Cashews are high carb actually. Cashews, pistas are high carb. I don't mind taking one or two, but not overboard. We can have as much soaked almonds and soaked walnuts we can have. So we have variety is there, but that depends on how we see. Maybe Indians, due to affordability factor, maybe we can take a little peanuts also, doesn't matter. While I still say that peanuts is an issue because it contains a little more omega-6. However, it's a small compromise we have to do for vegetarians.
Right.
So not to go overboard, maybe have a handful of it, don't mind. And a lot of non-starchy vegetables. Our country, we fortunately get a lot of fresh vegetables. Have a lot of non-starchy vegetables. Not those tubers, avoiding all those tubers, avoiding all those potato, wheat, carrot and all I avoid. And then above ground vegetables, yes, we can go and have plenty of them.
Right.
And the best part about this is we don't have to take multiple meals, just you can sustain on 2 meals itself. So the hassle of cooking and all comes down. Yeah.
Right. So like you rightly said, when we say vegetarians, our primary food is not vegetables, it's grains. Right. And if we are, if for a vegetarian on a low carb diet, lots of vegetables cooked in ghee and butter, you're adding some paneer, maybe some cream, a little bit of nuts, hung curd. I think it makes an excellent meal. So, I always say that it should be easy and sustainable. If it's not easy, it's not sustainable. And then we are going to, get off the diet and just say that, okay, it's for youngsters, it's a fad diet, it's a celebrity diet or something of that sort. It's a common person's diet. Yes, it's a conscious effort. I will not say it's difficult, but it's not impossible. It's not even difficult. I think it's just a conscious effort of the selection of food that we need to do. And if we get all the carbohydrates through vegetables, I think we are taken care of. And like you rightly said, if I have to summarize this, I can say that eating fat doesn't make us fat. Like it's basically all these carbohydrates that we are having is causing all this. And for our viewers out there, Shashi, who are so scared about the whole cholesterol that is coming from the saturated fat, you have been doing your lipid numbers for quite some time now. You have other friends and people whom you are helping out with low carb diet who have improved their lipid numbers. There is this whole fear of cholesterol. The moment you see butter, the moment you see ghee, you say, "Arey, cholesterol बढ़ जाएगा ना? Cholesterol नहीं होता है क्या इससे?" That's such a fear, and we see these oils, they say low cholesterol oils. Of course it's going to be low cholesterol because they are like highly refined and processed. But then can we, can you explain a little bit as to, one, that there is no such thing as bad cholesterol as a matter of fact, and what are the good things about cholesterol? There are so many good things about cholesterol. I want you to emphasize a little bit on that. And also, why should we not fear fat and like just go for it?
First of all this cholesterol actually is found only in all the animal food. It is not found in plant food at all. So any oil they market and they say zero cholesterol, they are not, it's not a good marketing. Okay, they are just trying to somehow fool us. That's what I will say, because it's there only in animal foods. It may be there in, let us say, butter, ghee. It may be there in paneer. It may be there in eggs. So see, cholesterol, somehow we have forgotten that it has multiple other functions in our body. Even if we don't have, see, what about vegetarians who don't eat butter and ghee? Let us say they don't have dairy products at all. Our liver produces adequate amount of cholesterol. So that is a capacity which humans have. Let us say evolution has given us, or for those who believe in God, let me say God has given us liver. Liver is an amazing organ which we have. It can produce enough cholesterol for all the vital functions. So cholesterol has a host of other vital functions, which also includes, it's a part of each and every cell component. A lot of our hormones, hormones depend upon it. Hormones are formed with this. In fact, formation of vitamin D also involves formation of cholesterol. It's very, very, very vital. And, something which is vital, paradoxically, we humans have started demonizing it. So they're all something which, somehow that classification has come, LDL is bad. And, this can be termed as what is called as an energy transport mechanism. They're all there to transport energy, transport triglycerides, transport cholesterol. Many people will not understand. In fact, they go out and see in the net, they find the truth. It is all there.
Right.
So, so we should get over this fear, and, we should fear the real thing. The real thing is the blood sugar level, the insulin resistance is the real cause of all the chronic disease. So there are a lot of material out there. Go out and read.
Right. So like you rightly said, that cholesterol is so vital, so important for us that even if you don't consume it, your body is going to produce it because we need cholesterol. I come across so many people who say ki, "Arey, मेरे को तो कुछ नहीं, मेरा zero cholesterol है." And I'm saying, hey, if you have zero cholesterol, you would be dead, okay? Like, please don't say such kind of things. I absolutely don't take butter, ghee. I'm on a complete low fat. Now, fat is become cholesterol. Cholesterol has become fat, So somebody who is on a low fat diet automatically believes that they don't have cholesterol. And I think there are a lot of studies out there, like you rightly said, we can go and look back. Most of people who have heart disease or who have an heart attack, most of them have normal cholesterol levels, right? And it is cholesterol by itself is not the cause for a heart disease. Of course, there is insulin and there is triglycerides, right, which is the fat. So I don't know why people like really, it's become a buzzword, I think, cholesterol. And everybody, the moment they have some hypertension, the moment they are detected with some heart disease, they say, "Arey, cholesterol, abhi to some low fat," So like you said, you have seen your numbers improve, and you have seen how it has improved your obesity by itself, which means you have lost fat on a high fat diet. Can we say that?
Yeah, that's true. I actually lost fat. See, if you see in the standard cholesterol panel, there's one lipid which is, one factor, let me say, which is actually triglyceride. Triglyceride is the most ignored factor there, and usually it is treated only if it is very high, let us say 400 or 500, it is just ignored. But let me tell you that triglyceride is a marker of insulin resistance. The moment we develop insulin resistance, triglyceride will increase, HDL will come down. It's also a marker of personal fat threshold. I mean, the moment our adipocytes are filled, the moment the visceral fats are overflowing, and then the body finds it difficult to push fat again. Everything is now full. So what will happen is that is the time the triglyceride starts increasing. And if you paradoxically see triglyceride upon HDL ratio, if it is above 2, is actually an indicator of insulin resistance. And this is science. It is there out there. Anyone can go and check triglyceride upon HDL cholesterol ratio, which is not there in the standard lipid panel report, is actually a marker of insulin resistance. That is the time it is telling that please watch out. Now the next thing to rise is blood sugar. Now after this, blood sugar is going to rise. Right. So unless we we realize this, we are going to fall into trouble. The diabetes will keep on increasing. Cardiovascular disease will keep on increasing. Alzheimer's will keep on increasing. Osteoarthritis will keep on increasing. Now they are linking insulin resistance to even all the psychiatric disorders. You will not believe. There are a lot of psychiatrists who now realize this, and they treat patients with food, real food, and they're able to wean them off drugs. So it is it's a wonderful realization to see that the insulin resistance is the center of all this.
Right.
So the sooner we realize, the sooner we'll be able to get over. Yeah.
So Shashi, would you go ahead and say that a person who is having who is facing issues with heart disease, hypertension, can go on a low carb, moderate fat, protein diet?
In fact, we don't realize. Now let me tell you one more thing which we don't realize is hypertension is very, very, very strongly associated again with insulin resistance. Okay, if anyone is having blood pressure and he goes on a low carbohydrate diet, he can actually get off the pills also. Okay. Now here's a caveat. Now let me tell all the viewers. Now, in the enthusiasm, don't go out and start this diet and then stop medication. Please don't do this. This is very dangerous. I suggest anyone who wants to do this, they have to consult 2 people. They have to consult their doctor who will support them, and they have to consult a nutritionist. Like, let us say they can consult you, Mishal, a nutrition like you too, because this is a highly personalized. Each one requirement is very different depending upon his lifestyle, food choices, likes, dislike. So there has to be a team of medical practitioners who will support, and nutritionists who understands low carb nutrition. So we one goes and then mess up. Let us say if a diabetic immediately changes the diet, reduces carbohydrate, increases, suddenly they will face hypoglycemia, they can collapse. So a lot of things can happen.
And that is due to the medications.
Yeah, due to medication. The other part also true. Some patients, some people, what they do, they will stop all the medication and then they will do this diet, so-called low carb, but essentially they will not do it properly. The result is they will have sustained high blood sugar level. So either way is very, very dangerous, whether it is BP or whether it is diabetes. I suggest that without consent of a medical practitioner, please don't go ahead. So you need to find a practitioner who will support you. You need to find a low carb nutritionist person. Friends get off 4 blood pressure medication. I helped my cousin get off 80 units of insulin. Who is around 80 years, she's also following this, a vegetarian, low carb, high fat diet. And she's off from 7 pills to she's taking 1 or 2 metformin a day. I have to check whether she's taking 1 or 2 metformin. 1 metformin is for sure. So, we are able to get better numbers at a lower medicine, and prognosis is also very good. Future prospects are very good. And every doctor, let me tell you, in that lab report, whenever I do it once a year. Let me tell you, all the parameters are fantastic, except maybe when it comes to lipid. People will say that it is little high, but that is okay. I mean, it is very unfortunate. When it comes to cholesterol numbers, lower the better is what it is said, and when it comes to blood sugar, the higher the better. It is very paradoxical. Where it is reverse. I want blood sugar lower, and cholesterol, it can be whatever level. And usually it is at a very moderate and very normal level for most people. There are very few like lean mass hyper responder. There are totally different cases. You can read up the science on those. That's a different case altogether. Yeah.
Right. So, Shashi, like you rightly said, we want our viewers to understand that this is not a medical advice. We are not doctors. This is a nutritional lifestyle advice that we are giving. And before you follow any of this, please consult your doctor. Please consult a good nutritionist. Get in touch and do follow a proper diet, because like you said, we do come across people who are I think you had mentioned this in one of your podcasts, where people they say, oh, I tried a low carb diet, so I used to eat some vegetables in the morning, 1 chapati in the afternoon, lots of butter and ghee, and some 1 chapati in the evening, and some nuts here and there, and then they don't get results because they're just consuming a lot of fat. They are not focusing on protein, and they're still consuming carbs, or they have like completely taken out the fat. They feel they have gone low carb because they are eating just 1 chapati and little vegetables and things like that, and they're on a low calorie diet now. So like you rightly said, before you go ahead with this, there are a lot of doctors out there who support a low carb diet. There are a lot of nutritionists. You can get in touch with us as well. Shashi, I want to go back to a point that you mentioned in your previous conversation here, where you said you were very happy to get a 0, so I want you to talk about that score. What are those tests like for our viewers who don't know? What exactly is that test? How are you able to say that you're safe for the coming 10 to 15 years? Just give us a gist of it.
The coronary calcium scoring, it's a small, it is called CT calcium scoring. It is not CT angio, it is CT calcium scoring. It just takes, maybe just a few minutes, go to a CT scan center and ask for a CT calcium score. So it basically shows that, your arteries, whether they are, whether they are calcified or not. So calcified arteries, will lead to an event later on. And if detected early, we can take a lot of preventive measures. You can call up your doctor and take what preventive measures are there. They will put on some medication or something. However, it's a very cheap, effective, and it has now come into guidelines also. Actually, in all the guidelines, they have now recommended even CT calcium scoring also. Just cost some anywhere between, let us say, on average 7,500, and then just go and within just takes a minute or so, and very, very effective and very, very safe. And it is said that if you have a 0 score, there is a warranty of another 10 to 14 years or 10, 15 years. I just forgot the exact number.
Unless you start eating carbs again.
Yeah. Unless you start eating junk food. Let us say, I will not even say carbs. I will say it is all processed junk food. Okay. Coming to this point, let me also tell you that many people feel it's a fad diet or something. But let me tell you, ADA 2019, American Diabetes Association in 2019, in their medical nutrition therapy, they have mentioned that patients can opt for LCD, low carb diet, or VLCD, very low carb diet. So in 2019, it is there in the nutritional guideline, and which many of us do not know. So let me tell you, it is an approved, effective, and legal. I will say it's a legal one to go. Diabetes Canada, the association there, recently in 2020, they have also included LCD and VLCD for the treatment of diabetes. So these are the two associations across the world who have accepted low carb and very low carb. I will say low carb is what is called as the LCHF or VLCD is ketogenic. However, those words are not used. Doesn't matter. For us, it is one and the same. So patients can opt for LCD and VLCD very safely. So only thing which they mentioned is it is not sustainable and all, but that is okay. That is highly individual whether you can sustain or not. They also mentioned that this LCD and VLCD has the maximum blood sugar lowering capacity. Maximum blood sugar lowering capacity. All the diets which is mentioned there among the low fat, Mediterranean or whatever and all is given. So LCD, VLCD has the most blood sugar lowering effect. So in effect, it proves that this is effective and very safe, and it is there in the guidelines. So for anyone to follow. It just that we should be knowing that, so we should be aware. Yeah.
Right. So the whole idea of this series is to say that, people like you who are like heroes of low carb and are Indians following this lifestyle. So it is doable, it is sustainable, it really improves your health, it helps you lose weight, it helps you with your lipid numbers. So that's the whole idea, because I really want to get over those myths and that it's a Western diet and we Indians cannot do it, or it's not for us and things like that. So Shashi, thank you a lot for sharing all this information with us. I want to now towards the end talk about you've always said you have energy like a teenager, and you also keep posting your numbers of your ketones on Twitter. So just tell us about your energy level, how you're feeling, and just this whole ketones and ketosis.
Initially, I used to measure myself multiple times, especially Sundays was an experiment. I used to measure blood sugar multiple times a day. I used to have any foodstuff and then measure after 30 minutes. Yeah. So later on, I bought a breath ketone meter, and then I used to measure my ketone level early morning or probably after meals, and I always used to find it at a certain level. Now urine ketone, of course, I used to measure it every morning, and even blood ketone meters and strips. So that's how I keep tracking, how different foods will affect us. So that's how something which I have learned over. It is up to us, whether we want to sustain or not. And people call it unsustainable. Yes, it is very difficult to, they will say. But I found that maintaining my energy level is much more important. I need to use it, frankly. Let me tell you. Okay, this I'm doing out of sheer curiosity as an experimentation. However, they are not really necessary in real life. We may not need to use it. It's totally up to us. So just eat, just keto and be happy. Yeah, that's all. Don't need to go into too much technical and complexity.
Right. So, Shashi, where can people find you? Where can they get in touch with you?
I'm in Twitter, of course. Just type Shashi Iyengar or Shashikant Iyengar. I'm there. Now I have around 4,000 followers, and I keep updating myself. Let me tell you that I have last 4.5 years. I spent minimum 2 hours reading. Latest stuff is available in Twitter. There are a lot of top scientists or top doctors who share all the latest studies. Just go and just read them. Everything is available free of cost. Yeah.
Right. So we'll put a link to your Twitter and Instagram handle in the show notes below.
My advice to the viewers is, I think that choice. We should be given a choice of low carb, and each one of us should actually try this. Consult a proper dietitian, a nutritionist, and a doctor, and just give this a try. Now, low carb can range from an extreme level of 20-30 gram of carbohydrate to maybe 100-120 gram. And if someone doesn't want to, do this, they can at least, moderately, follow this and reduce the number of tablets and pills. And those who are really keen, they can resolve a lot of diseases. But I think everyone should give this a chance, because diabetes is spreading like wildfire. Something which was called as retirement disease is now found in productive age. Now, if it comes in 30s, 40s, then by the time they retire, they will get some complication. And, the retired life will be spent on bed or wheelchair, which I don't want. I think we should be running around. So, people should give this a chance and then see how it is. And then don't worry, there's always hope for all of us.
Right.
Thank you.
There's always hope, Shashi, and it is so excellent to see that with your diet, you have improved your numbers. You are sustaining for so many years. You're almost a teenager now. So it's really great. And with all your excellent knowledge, all our viewers out there, you can connect with Shashi on his Twitter handle. Do get in touch with him. You want to know any data, like he is always my go-to person if I want to any reference studies, any data material. So you can get in touch with them. He's very responsive. He's extremely active as he is. He says his energy levels are so high in real life. So is he on Twitter as well. So do follow him. And thank you, Shashi, so much for taking the time out today on this busy weekday. So yeah, thanks a lot. You are really a low carb hero of India, and we just hope that this message goes out to as many people as possible who are able to improve their health with this.
Thank you, Mishal. Thank you for inviting me to share my journey. So destination is not come, so the journey is still on. And
Right.
I'm improving day by day, and I'm learning a lot of new things. So thank you, and big thanks to you, and wishing you the best for your channel and the best for your endeavor. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shashi. Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Please like and share the video in the comments below. Let us know what you think about it. And thanks once again, Shashi. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.